hope you have the answer to the question. Before going into any of the more detailed questions, I first wanted to suggest we love questions from the audience. I can ask questions all day long, but don't feel any need to do so. I also much prefer when panels are relaxed and interactive, and I would encourage all of you to ask questions of your own, of your fellow panelists, follow-up questions, or to expand on their answers. So please, let's just try and be as conversational as possible, which can be challenging given the number of people. But before going into any detail, I think it'd be helpful to just hear from each of you briefly about your organization, and what the your organization and the role of the carrier services business within your unit. Different organizations are organized in different ways, and the role of wholesale and international services can be very differently structured and organized within organizations. And I think the answers to some of your questions will be informed by how it fits into your separate organizations. Perhaps we can take it from my left to right.
So I'm the lucky first one then. Hi everyone. So BT has two key wholesale units coming from a wholesale perspective. We have a wholesale business in the UK that develops products for carriers in the country. So the UK is a very diverse, ultra-competitive marketplace. There are about 400 ISPs and service providers and a number of mobile operators and fixed operators in the country. So the wholesale division caters for them. Underneath that we have something called Openreach, building the core network infrastructure in the country. Where I sit is called Global Telecom Markets, and that's a global unit. We have people from South America through to Japan and Australia and Singapore and other locations. And that's where we take the products built by the wholesale division in the UK, and we sell and partner with carriers around the world in that particular regard. So that's more or less how we are structured from a wholesaling perspective.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll try to make sure that the audience is awake. I think that will be another challenge. That will be yes. So I'm Nabil Bakouche. I'm the VP Roaming and Mobile Services within Etisalat. As you most probably know, Etisalat has 18 operations across Asia, Middle East, and Africa. We just recently announced, obviously, our 2015 figures, close to 170 million mobile subscribers across the footprint, about $14 billion of revenues for 2015. Half of it is the EBITDA margin, and around what's likely about the $2 billion as net profit. That was the 2015, let's say, financials. How is it in the organization? We are the carrier and wholesale business unit of Etisalat. I'm responsible for the roaming and mobile services. My colleague here, Mohamed Momani, heading the voice, and Rashid heading, let's say, the data and international sales. And I would also suggest, if you have any particular question outside of this panel, feel free to reach out to the team as well. So, Carrier and Wholesale is the wholesale unit for the UAE, which obviously is the major contributor, I would say, out of those 14 billion that I just mentioned. The big opcos within the group, obviously it's Mobily in Saudi, Etisalat Egypt, Morocco Telecom with the recent acquisition that we did last year, about 18 months ago now, and obviously Etisalat Nigeria and Pakistan with Pakistan Telecom, PTC. Thank you.
I'm Fabrizio Civitarese, and I'm the Asia Pacific region for Global Cloud Exchange. Global Cloud Exchange is a global provider. We provide services both to wholesale markets, so carriers, ISPs, and OTTs, and to the enterprise customers. Our services are underpinned by our global network, so we are a very extensive network of submarine cables and terrestrial fibers. We are owned by Reliance Communication, which is one of the largest domestic operators, wireless and wireline in India. we operate quite closely with them, and as a matter of fact, our CEO, Bill Barney, is both the CEO of Global Cloud Exchange and of the wireline business of Reliance in India.
Good morning. For me, it's still morning. I just landed a few hours ago from Italy. I'm Leonardo Ciarcello. I'm the Vice President for Africa, Middle East, and Asia in Telecom Italia Sparkle. Telecom Italia Sparkle is the company that is managing everything that is international for Telecom Italia Group. And we are trying to be innovative and face the challenge in the market, organizing ourselves in two lines of business. One that is taking care of mobile and voice for the marketing and the new product and solution, and the other one for the data, where in the data there are of course the traditional services as IP or managed bandwidth, and as the new solution for cloud or video broadcasting. And then there is the sales region, of course myself, that is covering the Africa, Middle East and Asia, and the other two regions, that is one for Europe and the other one for Americas. And we try to face, to be innovative, try to be very flexible, innovative, and to try to transform and to adapt ourselves to the market.
Hello, my name is Shuichi Ikeda. I'm with NTT Communications. I'm in charge of the global IP network wholesales for the NTT Communications Group. Yes, I'm looking very much forward to today's discussions. I keep staying innovative as a carrier in this. I saw the slide that the gentleman was presenting earlier. All those things are probably issues that we're going to touch upon today. But those are definitely the challenges that we as NTT Communications were a part of the NTT Group, which is a $100 billion company right now. We've just had a great year. However, this is not going to be, it's going to become challenging, more and more challenging in the future as we go ahead. So I'm looking forward to what the gentleman here, everyone has to say about how we stay competitive and as these OTTs and so forth start coming up. So I'm very looking much forward to this discussion that we're going to have.
See, and I was hoping you would have the answers. So I guess the first sort of set of services I might want to talk about is what might be called the classic set of data services. And we talked this morning about voice at length, so I probably don't want to spend a lot of time this afternoon on voice. But rather look more at the market for data services. The challenge there, of course, is that demand grows, but prices come down, making it hard to build a very sustainable big business in that segment. I'd like to ask, let's turn first to you, since you seem to think others have the answers. Let's see if you can tell us something. What do you see the tendency, what's your experience at NTT in terms of data services? What are the major services you offer, and how is that business going right now?
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. In terms of wholesale global IP that we're doing, the good news is traffic is still bursting like crazy. It's still increasing, and we do still see that business as we still are profitable in that sector. And although the prices are, as everyone probably sees in this market too as well, it is decreasing. So I just want to talk a little bit about. We will, of course, be in that IP business still, and everybody still needs IP, and everything is riding on the network is very important that it's there. But as NTT, the group, right now, our company is experiencing a very mature market in Japan. It's becoming a very senior market in Japan, and the network business is, as you know, it's also coming down in terms of. The revenue side, the prices are coming down. So it's going to be very challenging. And one of the things, I guess, our plan is that SDN, I think, SDN type stuff has been talked about already, but we are calling it SDNX, SDX, SD1, SDNs, plus management. So that's one of the areas that we will be focusing to become a little bit more innovative. Everything is going to be on a software-defined network. And we are, trying to make a stance there. a lot of our activities recently have been to expand that space. Not only in Japan, it's Japan, like I was saying, it's become very mature, so we have to expand out globally. So you probably read in the news, maybe possibly, that NTT has just bought, or is planning to buy, for example, EDS from Dell, and to sort of expand that side of the business too as well. And that leads into sort of where are we looking to go with that kind of flow? And it's going to be very important that that kind of purchase will expand out globally. But what SDN has, what that kind of purchase is, it will allow us to get into businesses where we can add on to our network, and hopefully that'll lead to growth there for us in the future.
What about the others of you? Are you seeing any similar trends, or what's been your experience? Do you see data as being a sustainable business in the way it's currently run?
Today, the mobile data and the data are the driver of the growth of our industry. But luckily for all of us, is still a growing industry compared to other industry. So we are growing, and data and mobile data are the driver compared to the voice like it was a few years ago. Of course, what we are doing today is to try to change the way we do the business. And the first thing that we are doing is to utilize our infrastructure and build, of course, new infrastructure, because there are so many new cable that will be operative and launched in the next 12 months. And let's say, once we have built this infrastructure, then we have to find a way to fill and to utilize all these kilometer of network, terrestrial or submarine. Of course, data is growing, and we have to try to understand how from a poor infrastructure and transport and network company we are going to become a platform company. So how we use and fill the network with all the application and solution that the market and the customer is asking for.
Well, definitely data is driving the growth for everybody, right? I mean, today is a data market more than voice market. Voice is over data today, right? Now, what is quite interesting, I think that for the carriers, so if we go back to what we were talking before, so what could be the future of the carriers? So I think we need to find back the centrality of the role of the carriers in this new digital era. What happened in the last 15 years has been a digital revolution. And the big beneficiaries of this digital revolution have been what today I define as the OTT, so the content providers. If you see what we have, what our colleagues have presented today, starting with Bill early in the morning, when there was a table that was showing that out of the top 10 companies in terms of market cap, only 2 today are carriers and the other 8 are OTTs. Well, 15 years ago, they were all carriers there. And so we see that definitely companies like Google, Facebook have been able to ride the wave better than the carriers and capitalize more on this digital revolution. But at the end of the day, what is important is also the infrastructure. So today you have, the end customers are consumers and enterprise. And to serve these end customers, you need network and you need content. So in a way, the carriers, whether they are international carriers or domestic carriers, they own 2 out of these 3 factors. Because they own the infrastructure and they own the end customer. Now, what they have probably to work on is a different model where they can also grow as fast as the OTT. Now, there's no secret recipe, right? But in my view, probably a stronger and closer cooperation model with the OTT could be the right recipe for the carriers to work and grow together with them. I'll give you an example just to be less abstract. In the mobile space, today, there's millions, billions of mobile users. And in most of the countries, considering the fact that, especially with video application, with video streaming, the network are overloaded. Now we went from contracts with the consumers that are capped were unlimited, we went to contract an hour capped. So this is sort of a limitation for also the content providers, because they can't reach with their full power of what they provide the consumer, because what happens is that if you reach your limit on the 15th of the month, the way the contracts are today structured, that's it. I mean, you can't really access any more good quality data. So maybe a way would be a cooperation and a revenue share model between the content providers and the mobile providers to make sure that we can provide unlimited bandwidth, but the beneficiaries will be on not just the content provider, but also network providers that have invested in the network.
Thank you. Yes, I think we all agree that data is definitely a good area. What kind of trend do we see right now in the market? We see video streaming, and it's just simply booming. Example of Netflix in the region, in our region in the Middle East is a clear example, but not just in the Middle East. I think it's going viral, pretty global. And by the way, Netflix, if you look at the data consumption of the last 3 months, it has simply tripled, at least in the UAE. That gives you an indication that Netflix is pretty booming. So video streaming is definitely key. IoT, key trend. All the wearable devices, the connected cars. I think 2016, 17, 18 will be pretty interesting to see how this whole IoT concept will be going. But I'm sure that it will simply boom, and probably before 2020 we'll see incredible demand in those areas. And obviously mobile payment, I think, is a third key trend. Mobile payment, at least in the UAE, in the region, I've been investing massively in all those platforms. And you can just simply pay your parking, you can do a lot of things, transfer amounts, and especially in those massive corridors like UAE, Saudi, towards that particular region in Asia, mobile payment is becoming pretty massive. So all those main 3 key trends are definitely driving, let's say, the data. So I think data is definitely the key, let's say, major component of this whole program.
You know, I like what's been said so far, because my distinguished colleagues are saying that wholesale is a key enabler for services. So it's absolutely paramount for the success and evolution of the industry. So session SGMs, for example, absolutely great, because you have to slice and dice and do a different commercial model around how you acquire and lease bandwidth. That'll be absolutely critical going forward, as you see the explosion in demand for data services. The comment here about investing in their own infrastructure, that is absolutely key, because there is downward pressure on your wholesale prices, absolutely. But if you build your own infrastructure and you're running your fiber optics, for example, you can actually amortize and have that as a sunk cost, so your margins can go up over a period of time. So that's absolutely key in this game. I like the comment about the platform, because we have to become, as telecom operators, distribution platform for services. And if you look at the wholesale sector, I think, based on all the comments here, SGMs, platforms, own infrastructure, data explosion, we have to be able to actually accommodate those development cycles across the industry, because the retailers are evolving the way you retail enterprise and consumer services. So I think a lot of the wholesalers are going across from the traditional segment of voice and data into new areas. So, video streaming. So, for example, in BT's case, we run a large media broadcasting service. And we are actually, embracing more and more of that from a wholesale perspective. It sits in the wholesale division now to accommodate live television and non-live television broadcasting globally. So that's a new revenue stream for us now. So I think that going forward, the wholesalers have to look at existing traditional legacy and manage that for growth, but also diversify into the new areas that will support the retail divisions within those companies and market to support the launch and management of those services.
Yeah, and I think the distinction between retail and wholesale is somewhat arbitrary. It's as much of a sales channel as it is a product set often. Yeah, but sometimes you do have differences in terms of what those customers are looking for. One question I was interested in following up on is something that Leonardo mentioned, and just want to make sure I understand. And I also wanted to ask Nabil about this. You mentioned data is growing and mobile data. In what sense is mobile data separate from data? Are they? Do you have a different set of service offerings that focuses on mobile data, or is there a distinct separate portfolio that you do offer to mobile operators in terms of data services? I'm curious to understand whether there was a distinction there or not.
Really, it's the way they have access to the same solution. One is making using the mobile,
Right.
and the other one is using the fixed access.
Right.
Of course, the data consumption in terms of IP usage is more or less the same.
Right.
Is the same.
Okay.
But it's the way they access, and of course, it's different the solution and the product related to the one that you can offer using the mobile through the product.
And Nabil?
It's an interesting part because yes, there is mobile, let's say data, but in the example, I take again this example of Netflix because that's pretty interesting, let's say, a model that we're seeing here. You see people leaving the office, they are potentially in a train or in a metro, watching a movie on their iPhone. They can just simply, when they reach the destination, stop that session, arrive home, look at that on their iPad, and then if they are really in their, let's say, on their sofa at home, just simply switch on the TV and continue that particular movie. So here you see that it goes beyond, let's say, mobile. It can go from mobile up to the fixed, and that's why I think from a carrier perspective, we need to be a little bit more flexible in that kind of approach. I think some organization, and Etisalat is taking the lead as well on this. We don't need to restrict ourselves into a simple IPTV offering, like usually the traditional carrier offering. Right now we have competition, and competition is really there at the doorstep. And Netflix is definitely competing with our own, let's say, IPTV offering. So we have to be creative, we have to be flexible in our approach, and leading somehow the way we approach things.
Yeah, and I'm curious now to follow up to something that was brought up by Rodrigo. And one of the topics we want to talk about is new service offerings and innovation. I'm curious, are there any new service categories that you see that BT has introduced in recent years that are qualitatively new types of services as opposed to simply a way of packaging data with maybe co-location or something else, or are there specific new categories of services or types of services that you've developed for the wholesale market?
It's a good question. I think in the case of everyone here, everybody's innovating somehow. NTT are leading innovation in a number of areas, but I think that there is the element from a pure mobile perspective of data streaming and data consumption, as mentioned here. But I think the trend from a carrier perspective, from a wholesale perspective particularly, is the bundling, the clever bundling of connectivity with ICT services. I think that's critical going forward. And that's your unified communications piece, how you support that, how you enable connectivity. For example, BT is very focused on Wi-Fi. We have acquired mobile operator, the largest in the UK. It was a massive acquisition recently. But if you look at the Wi-Fi example, there are 50 million hotspots today. There'll be 380 million, they say, by 2020 because of the IoT. That'll be driving that demand. So I think unified comms is a key element. So there's a trend in if you talk to some of the wholesalers looking at enterprise, they are blurring into enterprise. So white label conferencing, white label platforms around cloud services. Amazon is now a new competitor if you're a carrier. Being a hybrid carrier or pure mobile is one of the competitors in that particular space. Data centers coming of age now. So I think if I look at the BT portfolio more specifically, we have a range of security and white label offerings that are really geared towards the enterprise. But when it comes to work with carriers, in a partnership capacity, more or less, to help them sell through those solutions to their end customers. So I think there is a trend around the classic, as I said initially, the classic traditional wholesale and data management down to, you know, region broadcasting, Netflix or television broadcasting, to white label enterprise, and particularly the bundling of ICT with connectivity to bring the value add element and component in your service offering.
Fabrizio, what about you? I know, you know, for Global Cloud Exchange also, services like cloud and M2M are things that have been talked about a lot. Are there any relatively new offerings that GCX has rolled out? And am I allowed to call you GCX?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we launched our cloud platform over a year ago. We launched also a service that we call CloudX Fusion, which is none other than secure connectivity to cloud providers. This was also about a year ago. And we are just about to launch a new service for our enterprise customers, SD-WAN, so sort of more flexible and higher bandwidth and less expensive access solution for our enterprise customers. So we always try to be, if not ahead of the game, at least be there and be innovative and offer a solution to our customers, whether these customers are wholesale customers or enterprise customers. What I think is also important is that we try to find our space the internet. So for us, I mean, when we were kids, we were playing football, and now these guys are not playing, unfortunately for them, football is good fun, but they're not doing that. They are, I mean, playing with the PlayStation, they're all internet savvy. So in 15 years, it will be a completely different world. So if the carriers want to be a step ahead, let's start hiring young people, young guns.
Great. Well, I think we're about out of time. I'm glad to hear that all of you feel so optimistic about the carrier business. It's